Okay. Hi, AYSO. We have a special treat today. I am really honored to be with Melissa and Claudia Chavez, and they have agreed to, I know we're not as fancy as Alicia Keys and stuff, so thanks for hanging out. Are you signing autographs, Claudia? Is that something you'll do for me, maybe, possibly?
Sure.
Perfect. I'm so excited. Made my day. But I am just really excited to talk to both of you and talk about what you were part of and what is next for you and stuff. So just to kind of give some context to people watching, Melissa and Claudia were part and organizers of this great event, Pop the Bubble protest that happened in Manhattan Beach a few weeks ago. But then Claudia got to be a guest with Alicia Keys on a town hall on Nickelodeon. So super awesome and super cool. And so we just really wanted to follow up because as one of our own, it's always great to celebrate the accomplishments of what is happening out there. So before we start, I really just want to hear your journey with soccer, Claudia, because I know you're kind of a superstar. I mean, apparently superstars so many ways, but I've heard through the grapevine you might be like an all-star and a club soccer player and stuff. So I just kind of want to hear your journey of like when you fell in love with it and where you are today.
Yeah. Well, my parents signed me up for AYSO the second I turned 4 years old. But like the first goal that I ever scored was amazing, and I just remember being so happy. And I ran to my parents, and my dad swung me around 100 times, and it was so fun. And right when I scored that goal, I knew that soccer was definitely what I wanted to do. But AYSO definitely has always been like a big part of my life because that's what really got me started into soccer. But I've had so many amazing coaches, and the games are always really, really fun because I also get to enhance a lot of my skills also. And it's just amazing.
And one of her amazing coaches. No, I'm kidding. Actually, her dad has coached her. We've had family friends who've coached her, and we just are absolutely amazed at how much fun we've had with AYSO. My nephews played AYSO growing up, and I remember the fun times that they had. And they went through and played club, played for college, played for USC here, and it's just been a great part of our family. I mean, our weekends, we look so forward to our weekends, especially if we have a doubleheader or something like that. It's really great. And just the relationships that we have and we've been able to maintain have been absolutely amazing. And we're so thankful that you guys exist. And we found something amazing for my daughter to do and that she loves. So thank you guys for doing all you do.
Oh, well, thank you for being a part. Did you ever think you would actually be a soccer family?
Actually, my husband and I were more baseball players, so Claudia was so incredibly active. I used to have to take her to the beach and run her in the sand.
Oh, yeah.
Just so she would get tired. So we thought, I don't think baseball is going to be the sport for her.
No, it's not as much running. So
you're sitting on the bench. We need her to run. So soccer was absolutely something that my husband was like, yes, because she's going to have to run. And so that was primarily the reason why we put her
hilarious
because of the running. But she fell in love with it, which is great, which is absolutely amazing. We absolutely love it. So yes, we are a hardcore AYSO family.
Well, we are so excited and happy and honored that you are part of our family. So I want to get into what we're here to talk about, really. And so as one of the founders of Pop the Bubble, I really would love to hear kind of the genesis of it and like how that came to be, and then how the event came into existence.
Of course. Pop the Bubble came about after George Floyd was murdered, shall we say. After that event happened, one of my girlfriends, whose daughter is also an AYSO, and another mom, well, soccer moms here, and she said, when he cried out for his mother, that was a call to all moms, and it was. And I remember, watching the events with my family and just seeing, kind of a look in Claudia's eyes, like, I don't understand why this is going on. Something has to be done. That look of, where do I take this information? What do I do with this information? And we could have talked about it for days on end and not given her that voice that I felt like she needed. So one of the moms just said, hey, why don't we organize a march, a peaceful protest for children? And I was so excited because the moment she said that, I reflected back to my childhood and I recounted the number of walks that I had gone on and peacefully protesting with my dad. And I was like, yes, let's do this. Let's give our kids a voice. And I don't care if it's 20 kids and 20 moms walking down the Strand. Let's do this. How was it for you?
It was incredible. And well, because of the recent events, I just wanted to really speak out and have a voice in this time, because we really need to do something about this, and this can't be going on for any longer. Like, it has to end now. And I just really wanted to speak up about it and say something.
It did. We talked about George Floyd. We talked about Breonna Taylor. We talked about Trayvon. We talked about Elijah McClain, and the heartbreaking part about Elijah McClain is that you guys have something that's pretty big in common.
Yeah, Elijah McClain, he played the violin just like me, and I could also just imagine any of my friends. I can't imagine any of my friends going through being treated poorly or even being killed. It just makes my heart break, and I just can't imagine what all of these families are going through without their loved ones.
We even talk at great length about racism and kind of how it started and where it began. And one of the most poignant stories for me growing up as a child was the story about Emmett Till. And Emmett Till was really gut-wrenching because I was a child when I heard about Emmett Till. And of course I had to share that with my daughter so that she could understand more about racism, the impact and what it has, because when it's a gritty subject and it's a hard subject to talk about with your kids, but you have to, because that's our nation's history. And Emmett Till looks like some of her friends, and it's gut-wrenching for a child, for us to have to even talk about racism and what's happened in the past. What happened to Emmett Till is still happening today. You look at Elijah Rice, there's another 12-year-old boy who's killed, Elijah Rice, and it's just, we can't let these things continue. And I feel very strongly that her generation and the generation that comes right before her, the kids in their 20s, that's why we have this outcry, because they don't get where it comes from. They see their friends of color and they're like, that's my friend. My friend can live next to me. My friend can go to the same college as me. I don't understand why they can't walk down the street without being terrified. It's really sad, very sad.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is something where it has been such a different type of outcry and different people finally coming together of, it's not the same that you've seen in the past. It's not one person or one race saying help. It's everybody as a collective cry. And just looking for change, just looking for dialogue, for constructive, substantive, change there. So knowing your legacy, your family legacy, what is it that you think is, we obviously know this has come to the, really been perpetuated and propelled by what's happened nowadays, but obviously that spark kind of lives from generation to generation in your soul. So how does it feel, Claudia, for you to be a part of having a voice in that, speaking to your friends? What does that mean to you?
It was very empowering. I was definitely a bit nervous at first, but I had a lot of friends there for support. Yeah. My grandfather was a civil rights activist and student leader who marched with Martin Luther King Jr. He had so many amazing stories to tell me, but the one thing he always tells me is that, sorry, we have a voice, but especially kids. I felt honored to share my feelings with so many kids and their parents at Pop the Bubble. And the adults listened. They cheered us on. I even saw some of them tearing up, which was so cool. They were really awesome. I did see some of my AYSO teammates and coaches there. It was truly amazing to go up there and speak up about things that aren't right about our society and things we need to change about our world.
What did that do for you, Melissa? Like, how is it to see your daughter kind of take that torch and go forward?
I was so incredibly proud. I'm cheering up now. I was so incredibly proud because I saw a lot growing up in terms of people coming together, being unified and fighting for equal rights. And the marches that we would go on were so impactful and empowering. We would march on Washington. We didn't do the march that Martin Luther King was on, but there were several marches after that. March on Washington in terms of peaceful protesting, and you saw people of all colors that were at these marches. And I remember looking up at the Washington Monument. I remember my dad's giant peace belt buckle. I mean, it was so empowering. And I remember the speeches, they were just all about just equality and just wanting to grow up in a world where your kids are happy and you can walk outside and wave to your neighbor and not worry about a cross being burned on your lawn. It was just so empowering. And we marched in Baton Rouge, we marched in Dallas, we marched in Washington. It was so impactful. And to be able to now give that opportunity to my daughter, for her to have a voice and her friends to have a voice, it's just, it's still kind of mind-blowing, a little bit surreal. I hate that these kids have to have a voice, and I hate that they have to continue to fight for equality, equality in housing, in healthcare, in political power and education, and all these different aspects. It's really, granted, we've come a long way, but for them to see what they have to see on television now, it's really sad. It's sad, and I'm glad that they have the strength in order to fight. I'm very proud of Claudia for taking a stand with she and her little friends, and they're not holding back either. There are a lot of the video games that they play. A lot of the video game characters now are wearing Black Power shirts and holding up rainbow signs for LGBTQ community and doing so many impactful and powerful things that they're sending a message, and I'm really proud of that. So they share those messages with each other, and it makes me very proud of all of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, how could you not? So I think, Claudia, for you, why do you think it's important for your generation, for kids, like you said, your grandfather said you always have a voice. Why do you think it's important for you to speak up?
Again, we have a voice, and we have a lot to say about how we live and what needs to change in our communities and in our world. We are the leaders of tomorrow, and we can change the things that are wrong in our society and in our communities. But some adults are really stuck in their ways.
Clearly. I mean, it's great. I mean, obviously we like to see that group of people go smaller and smaller and smaller, as voices like yourself just bring it to the forefront and say why. And how can we change? So that leads me into, how do you think sports are a conduit for change? How can they be a part of, bringing people together and looking forward to make it a different world?
When you're on the field with your teammates, you really don't care about the color of their skin or their nationality. You're there to get better as an athletes and as a team. Eventually, you are there to win, but you're there to bring out the best in each other, dig deep inside of each other, and make sure we play together amazingly. From a diversity perspective, I really think putting your kids in sports at an early age is a great idea. They will work and play along so many other kids with a diverse backgrounds, and it really teaches your kids teamwork and how to work and play together.
Well, no, it is great to, again, it's that whole idea of the camaraderie of just being able to hear from each other and understand where each other is coming from, even if you don't always understand, you know. And I think that's probably one of those things. So Melissa, for you, I think, you know, how do you continue to guide Claudia in this conversation? And you know, you talked about how you're talking about it as a family, but I think more importantly, you speak about it a little bit more freely. How do you then take that outside your house to talk to other people?
Well, in terms of us speaking with Claudia, it's something that I grew up with, so it's probably very easy for me to open the door to those conversations. But and she's very receptive, which is really good. She asks a lot of questions, so I would really hope that we continue that dialogue about racism and the difference between racism and systematic racism as it relates to she and her friends growing up, and putting a stop to a lot of these things. In terms of outside, I think there are challenges with people who aren't used to bringing these up, staying silent, being silent in their implicit behavior, because it's not easy when as you're an adult and you see something and you're going to turn your head the other way. I think for me, since I grew up with it, was a little bit, it's easier for me to start that conversation. If I hear a friend say something, I'm like, whoa, what did you mean by that? What did you say? Did I hear you say that correctly? Why did you say that? Let me explain to you how that makes me feel. Let me explain to you where that came from, maybe, or let me explain to you why that really hurts and why it shouldn't be said, regardless of if it's a statement or a particular word that we're talking about. And if we can empower our children to do that or have a dialogue when they're out with their friends, then maybe that would make our world a little bit better, to bring acknowledgement. Because I know some kids say things, they don't even know what they're saying. And we need to bring awareness to that. We need our parents to, educate themselves, start talking, just start talking. Kids in college, thank goodness, are now have to take a social justice class in order to graduate. And those classes, I really hope they talk about cases like Plessy v. Ferguson, get into deep discussion about Jim Crow laws, talk about Brown v. Board of Education, talk about what the Confederate flag means, also talk about what is segregation and what does it actually mean. And, videos like redlining, videos that talk about why one group of citizens gets to live in a beautiful area with great services, and another group of citizens are placed in a tract system and the services are poor and they're horrible. The grocery stores may not have the same type of fruit or have older fruit. This happens today. And these are the types of things that really need to stop. And if people were to look at the videos, it's called redlining, and understand what that means and educate their children, and then we can kind of see where things like this come from, or how systematic racism is happening still today.
So part of that is people sometimes don't know where to start, because that is overwhelming for so many people. And it's like, I don't want to say the wrong thing, or, so the paralyzing fear of, I want to understand, I want to learn, I want to change, but I don't want to say the wrong thing that makes it worse. And then it makes people retreat. So what do you say to people who are just like, I hear you, but I don't know where to start because I don't want to mess up?
You know what I love about that question? And people who've come to me to say that and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know what's offensive, what's not. They care. Mm-hmm. And that's what really matters. Just, they simply care. And that's a beautiful thing, because there are so many places to start. There are a list of books with teaching guides attached to them that families can get. I'm working with a group of moms right now in order to push those books into some of the schools within our community. Again, it's a book and it has a teaching guide. These books would work wonders inside of family homes to understand what's nice to say, what's not nice to say. Studies show that kids as early as 3 years old start developing systematic racism because of what's talked about inside of their homes, which is very sad, but we can make that change. We can really make that change. We can talk about, we can bring up those subjects and talk about them. If your kid comes home from school and says, I heard something today, please listen to them and have that open conversation, have that dialogue with those kids. Go to your library and find books about racism. They have them as early as 2 and 3 years old. The Nickelodeon project that Claudia was a part of, there is a tip sheet, and we've actually posted it on our website, which is popthebubble2020.com. That's our soccer mom group that believes that when we're going to guide these kids to save the world and change some things. So we have a lot of resources on our website as well.
So, Claudia, what would you say to your fellow friends, as well as people that, you know, are your age, and adults as we move forward? What would you say to them? What would your challenge be?
Well, to all the kids, just stay positive, always love yourself, and you're beautiful, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Always speak up if you hear something that's wrong, or if someone says something to you or a friend. Just find a trusted adult, teacher, coach, parent. And it's not the time to be shy or quiet right now. If you are someone who thinks it's funny to call someone a name or make fun of someone who's different than you, maybe why not just sit with them, ask them questions, and you might find out that you're a lot more alike than you would ever think. But to all the adults, just know that your kids have a voice, and they can speak up about racism anytime they want, and just know that they can come talk to you about anything. I do encourage all the adults to have a conversation about your kids, or to your kids about racism and how to deal with it at school or just deal with it anywhere. And I really want all the adults to know that, because some adults just don't really know where to start, like that other question that we had. There are definitely a lot of books that can guide parents and how to talk to their kids about racism too. My generation will change hearts, minds, and we are going to change the world someday.
I do agree with you on that one. I do feel like I am, I feel like I'm behind now, because you have just so taken it and run. And that excites me, honestly, for the future, just because your generation does see the importance of using your voice and speaking up when you see things that just don't seem right. And so for me, I want to continue to encourage you, because you inspire not just the kids your age or the ones behind you, but the ones before you. Because when you do use your voice, you propel us to look at ourselves a little bit deeper and say, what can I do to support you? What can I do to make sure that you feel empowered to use your voice? But also, what can I do to be part of the change? And so I think it's really cool that you are doing that. So, I mean, I feel I am definitely inspired by you, but I'm excited to see how much of a superstar you become. And I can say, I knew her when I got to talk to her, and then you'll be like, oh, hey, here's my autograph. But here's my book. Exactly. But I think I know you talked about your website. Are there other social handles you have that, if people wanted to find out more information about, Pop the Bubble, or how to contact you guys, how can they do that?
Yeah, they could reach out to us by Instagram. Same thing, Pop the Bubble 2020. And we're on Facebook as well, Pop the Bubble 2020. And we just have a great amount of resources for parents who are not quite sure what to do, not quite sure how to have those conversations. We're doing quite a few campaigns in terms of memory, remembering those who have lost their lives. We're working with a couple of unified school districts in order to get those books that we talked about inside the schools. We have a few other events that are coming up, and especially when COVID-19 is over, all of our events have been so far virtual, but we're working with a local bookstore in order to provide those books to those in the community. We are just, so proud of these kids, and they've taken a part too in what we're doing. It's just not us. We're taking a lead from them and saying, what do you think would be the most effective thing that we can do next? And some of their ideas are just mind-blowing and amazing. So we're forging ahead, and we just want to help them facilitate. We're the facilitators. We just want to help them facilitate the change that their generation wants to have happen.
Well, I'm excited to see where you guys go next and how this all comes to fruition for the organization. And again, it's, I'm proud and that I get to talk to you and that you're part of this, and that we can actually have like the curly hair club here. So yeah, what? But yeah, but no, I am just so glad that we had this time to chat about everything, and thank you so much for making this time. But honestly, thank you for continuing to use your voice and just be there to help people navigate what is sometimes a very difficult path to walk. So on whatever side that you are walking on at this point. So but thank you so much, and we'll provide all of the links and stuff to your website and to your social on as part of this. So it'll be really cool.
And can we just say thank you to you? Yvonne, I see the amount of work that you and Carlos, I know Carlos is the fantastic IT guy in the background there. We know that you guys have worked really hard to bring so much to the AYSO world and the commissioners. And I mean, you guys work really hard so that our kids have the opportunity to have an amazing life on the soccer field. And we can't thank you enough for that. And I'd love to thank a few of her coaches. So thanks, coaches. You guys all know who you are. And we just really appreciate the fact that we've had an opportunity to be a part of such a great organization. So thank you guys.
Thank you. That's very kind. That's always nice to hear. But yeah, so we're, I, again, can't wait to see what happens next. And I know, like you said, there's other events. So if people are interested, they can just follow your social or website to learn about when there are things happening.
Yes.
Or how they can be part of it. So
thank
cool.
you.
Well, thank you everybody for watching. And again, thanks to Melissa and Claudia for being with us today. And we'll see you guys later.